Hi everyone. So in this poem, we're going to talk about this poem called Sonrisas, and this is the poem that you are going to write about for your paragraph on connotations and denotations. So I just want to go through and talk about a couple of things that are going on in the poem, um, give you the general idea, so that then you can come by and look at the specifics of some of the language that's being used here. Those of you who speak Spanish will know that sonrisas means smiles. Um, and so that's the poem is called that. Um, you can realize that it must have something to do with somebody who is going to be Latin because it is going to have a Spanish title there. So I'll read it and then I'll point out a couple of things and then we'll uh, uh, set you up to be able to write your paragraph. So, Sonrisas. I live in a doorway between two rooms. I hear quiet clicks, cups of black coffee, click, click like facts. Budgets, tenure, curriculum, from careful women in crisp beige suits, quick beige smiles that seldom sneak into their eyes. I peek in the other room. Senoras in faded dresses stir sweet milk coffee. Laughter whirls with steam from fresh tamales. Shh, shh, mucho ruido, they scold one another, press their lips, trap smiles in their dark Mexican eyes. All right, so I live in a doorway between two rooms, and one of the things I said that's confusing sometimes about poems when we're dealing with metaphorical language, sometimes the confusion is realizing that something is not metaphorical. So I live in a doorway between two rooms. This person lives between two rooms, right? They live in that doorway in there. Um, on one side, they can hear people with budgets, tenure. Tenure is a good word to clue you in what's going on here. 10 years would happen when professors work for a certain amount of time. They get what's called tenure, and then it's very difficult to fire them. And so this is somebody who's going to be working at a university, a college or a university. Okay, and so they can hear people out there talking about budgets, tenure, curriculum, and see how they're going to be dressed. And in the other room, I see senoras in faded dresses who are stirring this coffee. They're going to be Mexicans, and the way in which I think about this is one of the ways you can consider this is that on one side you might have the professors or something like that who are going to be in one room, and the other side maybe you have the secretaries who are going to be more. Many of them might be Mexican, and I get the sense here that the poet herself is Mexican. Um, and so she and might be a professor, right? As a poet, that's a lot of times poets are professors. And so she is going to be with the professors and talking about budgets and tenure, curriculum. Curriculum has to do with how we design our classes. And on one side, she's a professor, and so she understands that. On the other side, the women who are going to be potentially maybe the administrative staff, something like that, she understands them as well. And so that's why it says, I live in a doorway between two rooms. I mean, literally, you might see her in the office and saying, on one side, I hear the professors doing this. On the other side, I hear the secretary's administrative staff doing something else. And then we can say, to what extent is she saying, I live between those two rooms in my life, right? She might be of Mexican American extraction, right? She's somebody who is going to be Mexican American, but because she's a professor, she's around people who are going to behave in this one particular way. But since she is Mexican, it's like, I understand these women as well, right? And so that kind of a balance that she might have between those two. And so when we say I live in the doorway between two rooms, it can be very literal. I'm actually in the doorway, but also metaphorical. I live in this doorway between these two rooms, these two sides of my heritage, right? These two senses of my identity that I have here, and I have both of those at the same time. So I want you then to look at some of the specific language that we have. This poem, by the way, mucho ruido, as they have down there. It's lots of noise. But if you, this poem is going to be in two stanzas, right? Stanzas are like paragraphs. So we have one, here's one doorway that we have, where we're going to have people talking about budgets, tenure, curriculum, and all that. And then the other one, we're going to have the tamales and the like, right? And so those are the two sides, the two rooms, right? This kind of mainstream American, presumably white culture, up against the Mexican culture, and so the mainstream culture up here, the Mexican culture down here. And what I want you to do for this writing assignment is I want you to have two paragraphs in which you're going to be discussing the connotations of some of the words in here that help us understand how we're supposed to be thinking about each side. So we might look at specific words here. Why use the word careful? What does that suggest, right? What are some of the connotations of that? What are some of the connotations of a word like beige? Beige is brown, right? But you can look it up and see what it is, what it specifically, what kind of brown it is. And so what are some of the connotations about that? What are the connotations about some of the other words that we might have up here? Versus what are the connotations that we have of some of the words over here? And how do those connotations help us understand how we're supposed to be thinking about these two sides? Do you notice any kind of a pattern in terms of the kinds of words that get used when she's going to talk about mainstream culture up here, versus the connotations of the words when she's going to be talking about Mexican culture down here? Um, what are some of the connotations of those words? So again, you need to have definitely looked at the other videos, read the readings on connotation and denotation in order to be able to do this, and then write two paragraphs. They should have clear topic sentences, of course, right? A topic sentence tells us what's going to be going on in that particular paragraph. So you'll need one uh, topic sentence for the first paragraph, a different topic sentence for the second paragraph, and then evidence, specific evidence that supports that. You also may want to go through and look at, not may, you definitely should go through and look at the video that I have kind of telling you what was a good paragraph from the previous assignment that we had. So we had the previous assignment where you had to to write paragraphs, and I graded those, and so I'm going to go through, and I've got a video where I'm kind of explaining what makes a good paragraph. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at that so you understand how to do this, which is a couple of paragraphs. One of the things you realize what I'm doing is I'm slowly building you up to write an essay, right? I have you do one paragraph, then I got a couple paragraphs, and then soon you'll have an essay, because that's all an essay is a collection of paragraphs. So go ahead and make sure you look at the video on good paragraphs, and then you can begin this assignment.